let me start by saying, because I don't know if this mic works. Maybe I don't need this now. Yes.
I think it works.
Okay. We're going to hold on to this one because maybe there's some questions in the audience you might want to take later, but let somebody come and get... Oh, well, just leave it here. Okay. My first question is actually a statement. I must say, I like the new look.
Thank you. I'm trying to look like you.
Yeah, you're trying to look like me. Yeah. Yeah. How's it going, brother?
Good. Very well. Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Now, you retired 2 weeks ago, right? And you were in the US, co-owner of Phoenix Rising. Is that the name of
right.
And you were also playing part-time for them. Mm-hmm. And now you are 100% retired from football. I know 4 years ago you retired from international football, but now the next phase of Didier Drogba's story begins. It almost seems like you're going back to being that 16-year-old kid who had a dream of being a football legend. You're back there, right?
I am.
Very exciting.
It is.
A little scary.
It's kind of scary because it's new for me, but at the same time, I'm really excited because this was part of my dream as a kid as well.
Now, let's look back at when you were a kid. Let's start from the beginning, right? I was reading up on your history. And my father is a Nigerian. Yeah, he's passed, but he was a typical Nigerian. And I remember when I was a kid, he would say to me, "Mark, you can only be 4 things: a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, yeah, or maybe a doctor, lawyer, accountant, or engineer." He was an engineer. And your father, Albert, wasn't too happy about you playing football when you were 16, right?
He wasn't.
He would say, "Go and read your books," probably, right? Sounds like my dad. How did you change his mind?
Well, the best way for me to change his mind was to become one of the best in football. But it took time. It took time because obviously becoming a professional football player was not a job at his time, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him because that's the vision our parents had, like your dad. For him, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, accountant, or a scientist, something like this. And football was not a job like it is now. Before, it was very difficult to live from football, to have a life from football. Only few people could do it, and now with everything involved in the game, things have changed, and it became a big industry.
Was there ever a time when Daddy Albert said, "Finally, yes, son, I see now. I see you've done it"? Was there a moment, or did that happen over time?
I'm trying to remember, but
because we all want to please our fathers, right?
No, he said it to me, but through an interview to a journalist, he said, because they asked him, they said to him, "You didn't want him to become a football player." He said, "No, I didn't want." But I'm so proud of him because he followed his dream, and he worked really hard and became successful. So I'm really proud of him.
And you talk about dreams. When I think of Didier Drogba, I think of determination. That's what comes into my mind. When I think of Didier Drogba, I think of the determination to realize your dreams. Where does that come from? There are young people here in the audience here who have dreams, not necessarily to play in sports or to be playing the Champions League, but to realize fashion design and so on, and drone companies. There's everyone here. Mm-hmm. What can they take away from your story about realizing your dreams and just continuing and just having the grit, really, to keep going?
Well, I've got so many stories to tell, but one of them is they say to become a professional football player, you have to go in through an academy. You have to to be professional at age 18, 19, or 20. Like my friends, David Trezeguet, Thierry Henry, you know, they were in France, they went through the academy, they were playing big clubs, then joined the national team.
It was like a train.
Yeah, and then won the World Cup. And when the year they won the World Cup, they were 20 years old. I was, a year before that, I was an amateur. I was still an amateur in France.
Because your career really took off late when you were 22 or so, right?
Yeah, late. I signed my first professional contract when I was 21.
Yeah.
And I played in first division when I was 23.
And did you feel like you were getting pressure, like, oh, you're too old? But you have to push those things away?
No, it was very difficult because I had to write all this time, from age 16 to 22. I had to write CV letters and say, hi, I'm Didier Drogba. I would like to have a trial at your club. Let me know when it's possible.
And then when they put your age, you put it really tiny, really, really small letters.
No. Yeah, I didn't want to, but I had to do it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I mean, I had no replies.
Yeah, because that's just a red
because
mark.
I was not from the academy.
Yeah. You were outside of the system.
I was outside of the system, so it was very difficult for me to get in. So I had to continue working hard. There were some points where I was thinking this might not happen.
But what did you do in those moments? I mean, how do you get past those moments?
You need someone to believe in you. The same way you believe in your dreams, you need to have someone who believes in you. And I was lucky enough to have that someone who never saw me play, but who heard of a young player in Paris who was doing okay, and he wanted to give me a chance. And
you're talking about Jose Mourinho?
No, I'm talking about the first coach, the one who signed me as a professional. Because if there's no this guy, his name is Mark as well. So if there's no Mark, there's no Jose Mourinho. So he gave me the chance to play as a professional in a professional team. So I had to change my habits from training once a week, eating fast food, whatever I like, coming to train, not training. Comes the weekend, score 2-3 goals, go back home.
Yeah,
I had to train every day, and that's when I learned that to be successful, you need to work hard. You know,
there's just no other way around it.
No, there's no other way out. No way.
Then, let me ask you now about what you're doing now. So, you're only 2 weeks into retirement, but you've already started businesses. I mean, it's not like you're coming in, you've just finished playing football, and now you are you're now thinking about business. You're already a businessman, right? You've already made investments. Tell me what you're doing in the business sphere.
Well, I believe, first of all, you know, a lot of my big brothers, I've took them as an example because they have great careers, and traveling around and seeing them now, you know, most of them, they're struggling because they didn't prepare the after football. And I started to prepare my mind because I was scared of that. I didn't want to end up this way.
There are some scary stories about African football players living destitute.
Not only African football players.
Generally footballer players.
Yes.
And then they get depressed and all that sort of stuff because you don't have a routine anymore.
Yeah. You know, you don't have a routine anymore, and you're not prepared for that. So because I was scared of that, I was thinking I need to make sure that when I stop playing, I will still be doing something that can create revenues for me to have the same kind of lifestyle to keep the lifestyle that I want for me and for my kids, for my family. So I learned how to be a businessman during my career, actually, because when you play and you're earning money and you have your family, you come from Africa, you have to take care of them. So it's like I already had my first company.
Yeah, that's right. You already had your employees and your employer probably as well.
Employer a lot.
So I mean, what areas are you interested in terms of business? Now, you're here at a business conference, an Intra-Africa trade fair as well, and I want to ask you something about Intra-Africa trade in a moment. So what is kind of like crystal ball? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but kind of like tell me where your interests lie.
You know, this is new for me, and this is a transition. So, like I said, I'm ready to work in every aspect.
As an investor?
As an
owner?
As an investor, as an owner, you know, I want to also to use my image as a brand to do something, but not only for me. If I'm here also is to promote trades in Africa, you know, between us Africans, because most of the time all these trades are done between, most of them are done between Africans and other continents, you know, America.
And it's our
Europe.
raw material going out and manufactured
And I think,
high-level goods coming in.
I think we can do it. I think we have the potential. I think we have everything in our hands. It's just a matter of believing in ourselves. It's just a matter of believing in you, what you can bring to the business.
From your mouth to God's ears. I mean, one of the things that you were well known for was that you were known as being a sort of a peacemaker of sorts. In fact, you were even involved in the peace and reconciliation efforts in your own country, Ivory Coast. But even before that, the image of Didier Drogba is one who could go into the locker room and bring a team together and bring people together. Sometimes with people who had very interesting characters that sometimes could have fractious relationships with others. I'll mention no names. But you were always seen as the guy who calmed the storm. Do you think that's one of your natural talents? Because that is a very useful talent in business.
I think it's coming from my parents. Yeah. You know, I didn't have the worst childhood. I didn't have, you know, I cannot say that my parents were poor. My dad did everything for us to live a good life.
What did your parents do? Were they kind of middle class?
My dad was working at a bank, and my mom was an accountant. So I grew up with them, trying to give me a better education, a better life. So they sent me to France. And unfortunately, or fortunately enough, I fell into football, and
fortunate for us.
And it changed my life. It changed my life.
It really changed your life, and it changed a lot of people's lives. Because I mean, for Africans across the continent, we need role models. We need heroes. You know, we need people that we can look up to. And you are one of those people, not just for young people, but generally for Africans. And I think back to how amazing your career has been. 7 countries, 15 winners' medals, and then that moment when you were touched by a piece of divine intervention, winning a penalty, and then also a late equalizer, and then a winning penalty in the 2012 Champions League final. Now, you know, to watch it on TV and as you is like one thing, but to actually be there at that moment, I can't even imagine what that would be like. And also, does that completely change you? Is that a moment that you learn something that you can take away to better your life to a degree?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry. You know, in 2008, I was in the Champions League final in Moscow against Manchester United.
I remember it.
And it was my first final. So during all the knockout phases, I did everything to take my team to the final. So I was thinking about my own performance. How do I perform? how good do I need to be to take my team to the next level?
And you were saying, I'm a king, but they're all kings too. So that's like this group of kings.
No. I was thinking, for us to win, I need to be good. I need to perform. So I was putting more pressure on
yourself,
on myself, and we lost that final. And 4 years later, I was still chasing that Champions League. So it was my 8th year at the club, and we had new players, young players like Juan Mata, you know. And
were you mentoring the young players?
And yeah, I was helping them because I've been at the club for a long time. So when they come, you know, I was trying to make them feel comfortable because if they perform, we are winning. So I said to him, Maestro, because his nickname is Maestro. Maestro, I need you to help me win the Champions League. And he was 23 at the time, and he looked at me like this with big eyes. Like, no, you are going to help me win the Champions League. I say, hey, my brother, if only you knew. I've been here for 8 years.
And I still haven't won
I still don't win it. Maybe you can help me.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
You didn't get it.
He looked at me like, this guy is crazy, you know.
Yeah. It's making him believe
Didier
in
Drogba,
himself.
You know, asking me to help him.
Because what I think you were trying to do is visualize. You're making him see it. If you see it, you can believe it.
Yes. And you know what the funniest thing in this story is? So we're losing 1-0 against Bayern Munich. Conceding 18 corners. And we had this one corner. And guess who took the corner?
He did.
Mata. And guess who scored?
Boom! Boom!
So,
wow.
So this is a lesson for me. There's no age to learn. There's no limitations. I can learn from my son. I can learn from you. You can learn from me. And this is something that, I mean, we need to understand and to never forget.
You make me think of mentoring. Now, this is something back in the day, mentoring used to be kind of almost ingrained in the work arena, but now it's kind of, if you're lucky if you get mentored, if you can find someone who takes the time, especially as a young person, to guide you. So majority of the young people are just out there on their own. We need to kind of create the age of mentoring, don't we? Especially in Africa.
Yeah, you know, I think it's important to have some guidance, some mentoring, and maybe if I had this when I was younger, when I was trying to become a professional football player, maybe things would be different. So
how different could they possibly be?
Maybe for the better.
Okay.
Who knows?
Everyone's looking at you thinking, what do you mean better? You couldn't be better. No, you've won everything.
Look, what I've done is good, but
there's always another level.
Always,
that's true,
always, and that's that's how I find my motivation.
Yeah.
Okay, I achieved this. Can I do better?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's try. Let's work. So
there's never a final destination.
No, there's no final destination.
Yeah. So even now, as you go into this next phase of your life as a business person and probably a business leader, how much do you think your brand Didier Drogba, will you have to use in order to sort of? I know you're not 100% clear. You've got investments in mining in Ivory Coast and so on, but you're going to build an empire or build a business, so to speak. How much of it is going to be based around your brand?
I think the brand is few things. And number one, you were talking about leadership. To be a leader, you don't come and say, I'm a leader. People make you a leader. You know, if the people you're working with, if they don't believe in your vision, if they don't see you as the leader, you will work alone. And I don't think you will achieve something.
And in Africa, I mean, you know, Mama Africa, we love Africa, clearly, right? But we have a lot of problems. We're talking about young people. We have massive unemployment. We have, I mean, we're at a more peaceful time than we have been in decades. But in terms of people's economic position, it can be almost wretched. You know, I think of my country, Nigeria, and think about almost something like 22% of those people that make that journey across the ocean to go and find a better world are Nigerians. You know, they're like people, they're dying in the ocean trying to look for a better world, a better life. It shouldn't be this way, you know? It really shouldn't be this way. I mean, you don't have a panacea, you don't have a solution for all of Africa's problems, but what can you say about leadership in Africa that could improve? Because of course, you know, if it's not good at the top, it's not going to be good in the middle or the bottom, is it?
Yeah, it's not. And I believe we all, one way or the other, we all have this dream of going abroad. You know, life is better in Europe, like in Côte d'Ivoire. When you say I'm going to France, people are like, oh, he's going to France. Oh my God, you know, and not everyone will get there. Not everyone will be successful. And once you get there, it's very difficult.
The streets are not paved with gold.
Exactly. And when you see the actuality, the last bad stories on Africa and all the migrants, I think we're looking at Europeans as support, people who are going to help us. We don't need them. No offense. No offense. I think we need to create jobs. We need to focus on education and work together, trade together, like between us.
Yeah.
And this will create jobs, and our young generation, the next generation, they won't need to go to cross the Mediterranean to find a job, to risk their life to get a job.
And you know, this works, right? I mean, if you look at Singapore, for example, this is a tiny nation state that's a city, basically. It was like, the Kuan Yew, the leader of Singapore, went to, I believe, Ghana once, asking for assistance back in the day. I mean, can you imagine? And then they became a country that was one of the biggest exporters in the world, with one of the biggest GDPs, a super powerhouse of Asia. And how did he do it? He did it through two things. I know he's somewhat controversial in his authoritarianism style, but he did it with two things. One, he did it with trade, because you have to have something to sell. Yeah. And then he did it with education. He invested in human capital, right? And I mean, this is what the solution you've just simply articulated is a solution that you can see around the world works, and it's a solution that we need. Now, when we talk about investing in ourselves as Africans, helping each other, it brings me to the Didier Drogba Foundation. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, we're focusing on healthcare, education, and women. So last January we opened our first school, because I really believe that, like you said, education is the key. The more you educate people, the less they're ignorant and they dream, but they have the right dream, you know, and of becoming successful, not of crossing the sea and risking their life, like you said. And healthcare, you know, I built a clinic, and like I said before, I always try to find a way to touch more people. So I invested in a mobile clinic. So with the mobile clinic, actually, we're doing a lot of screenings for heart disease.
Heart disease, yeah.
And
it's a big killer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big killer. People talk a lot about malaria, but heart disease, you know, with the way we eat, the way we, you know, our
like
lifestyle,
to enjoy.
We like to enjoy, and I think it's important to take care of ourselves, you know. So.
And you could be a great educator because of the, you know, the lifestyle and the fact you were a superhero sportsman. One thing you did tell me before we came on was, one thing that struck you was 9 out of 10, 90% of the people that support these initiatives are foreigners from abroad. And then you're thinking, why aren't we doing more? Why aren't Africans doing more for Africans? We need to, it sounds like we need to love ourselves more. Is that too strong?
I think we need to love ourselves more, yes, and we need to understand that the best way to help ourselves is us. So we need to find ways to improve our lifestyle. You know, I'm not doing it because it looks nice. I'm doing it because there's a need. And if there's a need, I'm not the only one able to help. So I think it needs to become an habit. It needs to become normal to help. You know, and maybe...
And you think in Africa, they're kind of like, we don't have that, because Africans are very generous. If you look at anybody in a big city, yeah, like your friends and my friends, if you've got a job, right, there's the social security system you have in the West doesn't exist. Healthcare, it doesn't exist. Education is probably at a state or level is not that great. So you have to actually create all these things, and often you're supporting people well beyond your nuclear family. If you're in the UK and someone knocks on your door and says, I'm from your village, I don't have school fees, you just slam the door in their face, right? Yeah. But I bet you hundreds of people here support people who are not directly related to them. Africans are generous, yes?
I agree with you.
But conversely,
maybe we have to see with it's up to the governments to create...
incentives, maybe.
Yeah, to say, okay, if you invest in... If you make donations to foundations to help in education or to help in healthcare, you tax exempted in a certain percentage, and maybe that will help a lot, you know, and push more companies to be supportive, because I feel it's really sad that most of the people helping in my foundation and some of my friends' foundations are from abroad, like out of Africa.
Let me ask this question specifically about your area and sports, which is very closely related to entertainment, music and arts. The creative, if you want to call it, and you're a creative footballer, the creative industry. We had a great session at this forum a couple of days ago about financing the creative industry. And we had Dibanj. I'm Dibanj. He was
yes.
here, right? Your friend, Nigerian pop star, and he brought the house down, by the way, yesterday here in a concert. I don't think that room is serviceable for the next 6 months. But he came up and he said something really inspiring, and it was a theme that went through the entire session. It was a fantastic session with creatives, fashion designers, filmmakers. They were all there. And he said, he was talking to the money men in the audience, yeah? He said, listen, you seem to think that investing in African sports, African entertainment is charity, that you're doing us a favor. We're not asking you for that. We're asking you to see us as a investable business industry. He said in the West, Hollywood not only is a big business, but it dictates the very fabric of American psyche. He said, we're the new oil and gas. That's what he said, and I was like, it's like really profound. I just wanted you to comment on it, because I mean, you're a sports guy. These investors, these money men, do they need to wake up?
I think they need to, like you said, to believe in us. When you see someone like LeBron James, for example, what he's doing in his sports, he's a legend, but he's using his brand to have an impact on society, you know, and he got support from his sponsors, from people in America, like the NBA also helping him, and I think we can do this. We can do this. We have people like big players, you know. We have our big sportsmen. We have artists like Dibanj, Wizkid, Two-Face, and in different sports and cultural aspects. But we need to promote them, and we need to create our own brand. We don't need our big guys to go and invest on an Hollywood movie. No, we can do it. Is, you know, we have to do it. We have to make sure that these people come to us and say, how can we help?
Yeah, how can we be a part of it?
How can we be a part of it?
Yes, yes. Excellent. I think we've got a few minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Who's keeping time? Maybe, do you want to take a few questions?
Yeah,
and see who's in the audience?
Of course.
Have we got some microphones in the audience? Let me see. There's some microphones floating around. Let me see. These lights are directly in my eyes. Yeah. This young man over there. yeah. First question over there.
Hello, Drogba. It's a pleasure. Jose Mourinho said in his press conference last week that he would never...
Speak up.
Jose Mourinho said in his press conference last week that he'd never invest his money in football. Hopefully in the future, if you ever make enough money through your business, what do you think of investing it in football?
Same question. Are you going to invest in football? Is it an investable area? Well, you already have.
I think I already have. But football in US is different. I call it soccer.
Yeah.
Soccer is different than football.
Yeah.
So
why is that?
It is.
Why is soccer different than football?
Like for many reasons. Number one, as a player, like I said, I know how to play football, and then I moved to America, and I had to learn how to play soccer, which is it's a different approach of the game.
In what way?
You know, first of all, there's no relegations and promotions.
Yeah.
So
you got that out of your mind.
You know, it's like the NBA. You know, there's a draft.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure. The pressure is not the same.
You're not driven by the fear of relegation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one. And the players, sometimes the salaries are really low. You know, so, and you have 3 DPs who get good salaries, and then you have the rest of the team. So most of the time they need to have a second job, you know, to be able to. So it's not the same as.
So they're not motivated by cash, really. Yeah.
You know, like you cannot build a real brand, and with the players, you know, like let's say when you say John Terry, you know he's belonging to Chelsea. When you say Steven Gerrard, you know Liverpool. No, because there's the trades, and they're always going to different teams.
Yeah.
And but the concept of it in America is really working, is successful. For example, a franchise like Washington, D.C. Has been bought by some people for 500 million. But in Europe, a club like I don't know, it's completely different. It's a different approach. It's a different approach of the game, and in Europe, most of the clubs are losing money.
And talk less of Africa in terms of the leagues in Africa. They're so anemic. They need so much help, right? You're talking about us doing things for ourselves. I mean, you know, the biggest football support is for the Premier League in Africa. You look at footballers trying to make it in the local leagues, and you feel so sorry for them because of the lack of investment. They're all dreaming of going abroad. I mean, that doesn't seem to have changed since I was a kid in the 80s. At all. That's quite sad.
It's going to change. It's going to change.
You think it's going to change?
Yeah, it's going to change because my brothers, my African brothers, those who's playing there, like the Mo Salah, me, Samuel Eto'o, Yaya Touré, Obi Mikel, at one point we're going to come back to our countries and help to develop Africa, help to develop, to change this mentality of football. You know, how is it possible? We have some good models, some good examples, like the Premier League, and we played there. French League, we played there. Bundesliga, we played there. And we cannot duplicate in Africa. I think we have the resources.
Excellent. Who else? Let's see. Let's take this
Over
lady.
Yeah.
So This gentleman here, yes. Who am I pointing at now? Yes, this gentleman here. Please stand up and tell us who you are, though.
Yes, I'm Yara Tesfaye from Eritrea, head of media and culture affairs. Congratulations, Drogba. So I'm very much impressed by your presentations, and we'd like to invite you to come to Asmara. Didier Drogba. We are, Asmara, the capital city of Eritrea, is 2,400 above the sea level. We're planning to build a training center just to bring role models just like you, because we have a lot of talents. Just 3 weeks ago, we had the African Cup on cyclings. Eritrean talents, they won like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and there is a lot of talent. How important is to have an academy for young, talented Africans?
I think it is really important because the best time to develop and to give a lot of informations to a player or to a sportsman is between, I think, age 12 till 20, you know. And when you go through the academy system, you know, every day you're learning. You know, for example, I didn't go through this, so I was raw. Of course, I had my creativity, my desire to succeed, and the talent. But then when I went through a professional structure, you know, I had to learn how to anticipate the game, how to read the game, how to make sure that, okay, today I scored 2 goals. How did I score these goals? I need to be able to duplicate. I'm winning a game. I'm winning a cup. I'm winning the league. How do I duplicate? So there's all these aspects like knowledge, education. It's education, by the way. We all come back to education, always.
One last question. Over here, microphone over here to this lady here. Who are you?
We can do 2 more if you want now.
You want more questions?
Yeah, no problem.
Hey,
we
want more questions?
That, you know? We're here for that, yeah.
That's why they like you. Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name's Onika Jones, and I have a really important question to ask. Quite a lot of the times, currently, you are hearing about how there is a lack of role models. Okay, I don't believe that's true.
I don't believe in that.
I don't believe that's true either. However, the conversation is not evolving towards an actual solution about how we can help our young children and our youth. How much of the actual role models, how much of them do you think they are sitting down to really think about what to do? Because they are there. The conversation, I feel, needs to move on, but is there something you can implore them to try and start doing now? And how could you do that?
How do you motivate the models, the role models?
I think it's a question of inspiring people. And look, for example, we all know, like, for example, in our national team, in every national team, we challenge each other sometimes, you know? Like, oh, he's playing for this club, he's doing this, okay.
Yeah, competitive.
So it's competition, yeah? So I started my foundation in 2007, and I made it official in 2010. Start doing some work. And from the players, I think I was one of the first one. And today, there's 5, 6 other players who are doing the same. Still in this competition things, but they don't realize, but they're helping people.
Yeah.
You know, so this is inspiring as well. And I believe that our role models are there, but we need also to recognize them. And we need also to take them out of the comfort zone, which is, for me, football.
Yeah.
So I'm here today to talk about business and to talk about how to inspire the younger generations. So you're taking me out of football
Yeah.
concept, talking about how many goals did you score, this team and that,
exactly.
because I can do this. You know, I can do something else, and I really want to help. And a lot of my brothers, they want to do it. So, but they're using that their platform, which is football and sport in general, or music. But we need to come together, and I'm really happy that the guys like The Bench, Two-Face, you know, they came, because that's
that shows something's different,
exactly.
something's changing.
Exactly.
Okay, wow, so many questions. This gentleman here looks he's the most eager looking of all the guys. So let's give him I don't want him busting out crying or anything if I don't pick him.
Hi, my name is Abubakar Dagamaisha. I'm from Mali, but I was born in Cote d'Ivoire. While Didier was playing in England, I was there, I lived there 10 years. I have a question, but also I can sense that he's so eager to invest that I will give him 2 opportunities. I will give him 2 ideas. The first one is, I can see his suit is fantastic, look very good. Mine too.
You didn't say that. You didn't say that about my suit, but carry on. I should have given the microphone to that guy.
Mali this year was the first producer of cotton in Africa. But I am sure the suit Didier is wearing wasn't made in Mali or in Africa. What I'm wearing is called bazin. Most African things is from Mali, but the cotton when it was made in Mali was sent to Germany. They did the fabrics, they bring back, and we do the tailoring. It's not a shame.
You want me to answer that?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'll finish with
finish.
the second one. So is to come to this where we have things like cotton, where even in Cote d'Ivoire, where I was born, where my mother is from, l'épargne, the quantity we buy is incredible. So processing cotton to do that, I'm just giving you a business opportunity. The second one is livestock, something that I love. I love farming, and we were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about food security and Africa needing more food.
More food. A country like Cote d'Ivoire, where I also do business right now, has one of the best weather conditions in West Africa in terms of rain. But if they tell you the amount of meat that's imported in Cote d'Ivoire from outside, coming from neighboring countries, coming from Europe, it's incredible. All it needs is just somebody to invest. I know the project. I even went to the ministry in Cote d'Ivoire, and I think some of the things where he can have a real impact straight away.
Okay. All right, cool. This is the moment where you just open your jacket slowly and say, well, actually, it was actually made in Mali. And everybody, oh!
Yeah, but, you know, I'm going to answer to your question by a little story. So I got married in 2011. And
you just disappointed half the women in the room there. Someone was, oh! You went, oh! It's all right. It's all right. You'll get over it.
No, I think that was happiness. She was happy for me. No, so I asked someone who's into fashion in Africa to do the suits for
the wedding.
Me and my wife for the wedding. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I call again, a month and a half.
I think I know this tailor.
You know? Why I wanted to do that? Because I knew I would have received a lot of foreign people, the owner of my team, my teammates, all the friends that I met and that really close to me at my wedding. And I wanted to show them what is Africa. I didn't want to show them the images of the kid with a big stomach, you know, crying. No, that's not Africa. Africa is exactly what you're wearing. But because my brother didn't come back to me,
you didn't deliver.
I had to go and do something. So once again, we have to believe in us. We have to
step up our game.
Exactly, you know, and create a trust moment where I know that if I come to you and say, my brother, this is what I need, and you will deliver. If I have that feeling, do you think that I'll go to Europe, buy something expensive when I could have something better or with similar quality but less expensive? No.
You have to deliver. And Didier Drogba delivers. Didier Drogba, ladies and gentlemen.